Alright, we're going to be talking about Polya's four-step process for solving problems in this video. Particularly, we're going to focus on mathematical problems, but you can use this for any type of problem, really. Alright, so our 4 steps is going to be 1, understand the problem, 2, devise a plan, 3, carry out the plan, and 4, look back and reflect. For our first step, understand the problem. It's very important when you're considering word problems, specifically because they have a lot of words. It can be wordy and confusing to look at sometimes. We need to take our time to read and analyze the question. Sometimes not all the words are necessary to solve the problem, so try rephrasing or cutting unnecessary wording out of the question. Some strategies that we can use to better do this step is to read the problem aloud, summarize the information. That's kind of the same thing as cutting out the unnecessary words. You can draw or graph the problem. If it requires a graph, draw out the line, maybe just to figure out like the slope. To draw the line would really help. You can also draw a picture if it deals with the lengths of a shadow. That could be really helpful to draw that out. You could act it out or visualize it if you don't necessarily have the space to act it out. You can analyze keywords such as how total in a problem refers to addition, and the product of deals with multiplication. Next step is to devise a plan. You need to determine the steps you need to take to solve the problem, and you also need to determine if other information is needed before the final result. Sometimes people get ahead of themselves and they find this solution, but they didn't realize that that's only part of the problem. That was only their first step to getting to the final answer. So we need to pay attention to that kind of thing and also realize that before we start the problem, what steps am I taking in between the final answer and my starting point? All right, some strategies for devising a plan. You need to look for patterns in the question, or maybe in some of the results you're finding. There can be patterns in that as well. You can write down relevant formulas. That can be for any type of problem. If you have a formula, if you're doing angles in a triangle, we know that type of formula, or side lengths, we know that type of formula, the Pythagorean theorem. So, writing down relevant formulas can be very helpful whenever you first start the problem. You can make an equation from the word problem. If the words are a little too wordy, that is very helpful to just look at an equation. You can strike out wrong answers. Sometimes you can realize that some answers are just not going to be correct. So get those out the way right now so you don't even have to worry about it later. You can use guess and check or the backwards method if needed. Usually, we want to steer clear of stuff like guess and check because it can get complicated or it doesn't always work out in your favor. The backwards method is where you look at your end result and try to figure out how you would get there backwards. It's kind of in the name. Next step is to carry out the plan. It's very important for you to number your steps so your work is easy to follow, for you and for the teacher. For the teacher, because it helps them grade your work, and for yourself, so you can look back and make sure that you did things correctly and you didn't get confused on something being in the wrong spot. Always show what you did to get to the next step. That way you can look back and improve. That's also for you and the teacher. That way, nobody is confused on what happened. It's in the work. Check your work once arriving at your solution. You always want to check your work at the very end just to make sure you didn't miss anything. And don't give up. If you need, take a deep breath and try something different. All right, for our last step, you're going to look back and reflect. This step is really important when you're doing practice problems. You need to ask yourself the following questions to reflect on your performance. What did I struggle on the most? Which method worked best for me? And how can I improve for next time? So sometimes your method is not going to be the same as your friend's method of solving a problem. It just really depends on the person and what they're more comfortable applying to a problem. All right, we're going to watch a little bit of this video here to see an example of a problem using this four-step method.
Now let's answer the true-false test in question number 9 of exercise 3.3. The problem states that in how many ways can you answer a 12-question true-false test if you answer each question with either a true or a false? First, understand the problem. There are 12 questions in a true or false test that is answerable by either true or false. The goal is to determine the total number of ways the questions can be answered. Second, devise a plan. Since there are 12 questions and each question can be answered in two ways, hence we can say that the 2 question can be answered in 2 times 2 ways, the 3 question can be answered in 2 times 2 times 2 ways, and so on. Third, carry out the plan. So we have multiplied 2 12 times, or simply 2 raised to 12 power is equals to 4096, meaning there are 4096 ways to answer a 12 question true or false test. The fourth and last step is to review the solution. Always double check your answers to avoid any mathematical errors.